training partners. Here come your training partners. So smart, so strong, so funny. Let's go with your training partners.
Welcome to Training Partners, where two fitness professionals bring you strong takes held loosely. I'm Weezy Shoemaker, and I'm joined by Councilman Jeremy Jam. Just kidding, it's Justin McClintock. And today, we'll be bringing you strong takes on why avoiding hard conversations is ruining your life.
Let's start with the hard conversation about you giving away my OnlyFans name on a podcast. I don't appreciate it.
Anybody who is a Parks and Rec fan will have thought that was very funny, and anybody else will think I'm insane, which is fine. Par for the course.
Absolutely fair.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm cooking. At time of recording, it's 104 degrees in Providence, Rhode Island, which seems unlikely. And we're just breaking records all over the place. So the dog and I are hiding inside as much as possible. We got all the workout stuff done bright and early in the morning, especially because I had a run. So I just wanted to get it done.
Out of the way.
Now I am cowering in the shadows.
It's not quite that hot here. I look this way because a wasp is trying to attack the window.
Well,
so
I bet
let's
the
hope
wasp
that
is
doesn't.
attacking the window. It's just not winning.
Oh, right. It's not that it's trying to attack the window. It is attacking the window and failing.
Yeah, that's
Hopefully that doesn't continue. It's not quite that hot here, but we are getting a lot of storms. And I did not know this until yesterday at 9 p.m. when it was 79 degrees in my house and I was full of rage. Ted opted us into an optional brownout program that when there's a lot of electricity being used, for us paying less for electricity, we get
Did he?
And I said, what? I'm sorry, what? Because I've woken up 3 nights in a row with night sweats. That's gonna have to change. Okay,
yeah, that doesn't. Yeah. My household is pretty conscientious about power usage. We're really deliberate about settings and usage, and certainly any kind of air conditioning is pretty limited and set to temperatures that most people think are incredibly warm, but I'm in control.
Right. Yeah.
And
yeah. So it was I was ready to destroy the whole system because I'm clicking run the air, run the air, run the air, I'm hot, and nothing was happening.
That's so interesting.
I texted him because he was at that moment downstairs doing some other things and said, why is it hot? Please fix it.
Why hot?
Why hot? Please, sir.
Why hot, Ted?
And he was like, oh yeah, because of the cost savings. No.
So is your thermostat connected to the power company? How does that work?
Yeah, essentially it's an AEP, which is our local power company thing. And he got notified. Basically, it's a preservation technique to avoid blackouts. Or
I get it. Yeah.
Or a rolling brownout. And I understand. And also hot.
I'm not running the AC to keep it 64 all day long.
Right. But I need it to be.
Once it hits 80, I need a little bit of relief.
Right. I need it to be 72.
I will totally take 72.
I am not a tropical plant.
Yeah. Oh. I bet that was a fun conversation.
Well, it wasn't difficult. It wasn't difficult like the conversations we're going to talk about today.
Okay. I'm glad.
So doing some research for this episode led me down some really interesting side quests. And I pretty aggressively pivoted the way that I want this episode to go. I wanted it to be more conversational in nature. And I think that will be true, more anecdotal. But there was some actual really interesting published research on the repercussions of avoiding difficult conversations. And I think that's important to talk about.
Yeah, I dig it.
Cool. So the first thing that I found as I was kind of digging into why do people avoid difficult conversations was this study that we'll add into the show notes. It was a PubMed, pretty large study that went into why people avoid difficult conversations in the workplace, particularly in healthcare,
Oh,
which I thought was fascinating,
super interesting.
right? There's multiple studies, and we're going to talk about two of them today. I'm sure that you could dig into more than that if you wanted to, but there were two I found to be really interesting. And so the first thing that I want to talk about is why we avoid difficult conversations. And so this study had a ton of reasons come back. The first and perhaps most prevalent is a fear of negative consequences and a just general distaste for confrontation, right? I'm afraid of what having this conversation will mean,
What it will feel like and what could happen because of it.
right?
Yeah.
Because there's all types of different power dynamics at play, right? Like, generally speaking, if there's a conflict, there's one person who's on the higher ground and one person who's on the lower ground. And it can be really tricky if you're the person on the lower ground who needs to have a tricky conversation.
Yeah. Navigating that can be a minefield.
Right. The next part is a lack of confidence in their skills to have a conversation like that anyway, right? I
Mhm.
don't understand how to frame a difficult conversation in a way that's going to be anything other than an explosion.
Yeah, for sure. And I imagine also once you get into it, it reminds me of that Mike Tyson quote about getting punched in the mouth. Like,
Yeah.
I know what I'm going to say. I know what my first line is going to be. And you get halfway through it, and then your boss cuts you off and asks you something, and you're just rocked back on your heels. You don't know where to go. And suddenly it
Right.
feels out of control and chaotic, and panic sets in.
Right. How do I circle back to this thing that it's clear that they don't really want to talk about?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Which could be manipulative. It could be just poor communication. There's lots of reasons you can end up in that situation.
that's right. The other pieces that you kind of touched on a little bit in that is personality type, communication style, and available time.
Yeah, for sure. Communication style is really interesting.
Communication style is really interesting. And then we look at it from like a personality type, right? Like imagine if somebody who's a little more emotionally driven has to have a difficult conversation with somebody who is all data, no feelings,
Yeah, and how that gets taken in. If
right?
someone's on the edge of tears trying to communicate something to you, but it's just because they find the situation very nerve-wracking. They're not necessarily sad, or even they might not even be upset with you, but it's a difficult situation. Someone going full stone-faced and like failing to interpret the circumstances can can be extraordinarily challenging, I think.
Really difficult, really difficult. The next one is the size of the workplace. And this is specifically like in a workplace environment. You
Mhm.
could see how it would be really different. Hey, I need to talk to the CEO who's in charge of 500 people in some type of way versus I need to talk to my boss who has just me reporting to him.
Yeah, and I wonder if that also has, like, the size of the workplace also, I suspect, has to do with how often people interact, right? If it's a
Mhm.
special thing, I'm going to talk to this person that I haven't spoken directly to in more than 30 days
Right.
versus my boss who I rub shoulders with and we pour coffee next to each other twice a day and talk about minutia on a regular basis. It's easier to start that conversation rather
Yeah.
than it being, oh, I had to make an appointment with the secretary. And
Right.
I've totally had to do that stuff. Like, oh, I need to
Yeah.
talk to someone to get on your schedule,
Right. I need to
tell you
talk to
I'm
someone to talk
angry.
to someone to talk
Yeah,
to you
for
about
sure.
this problem. Perceived cultural barriers.
Like what?
So we can imagine that perhaps somebody who is not a native English speaker would have really a difficult time on either edge of the conversation, whether they're the one being spoken to or the one doing the speaking.
Mhm.
They're more likely to be understood or less likely to be understood, I'm sorry, whether they're the teller or the receiver of information, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I worked at Nissan North America's corporate headquarters for a little while. I don't know if you know that or not.
We've talked about this. Yeah.
Okay. And I was not high enough up that I was on conference calls with colleagues in Japan, but there were people on my team who were and would actually like go to Japan occasionally and be there for a number of weeks. And the cultural norms there for what is expected of you from the workplace is totally different, right? Like, for example, you don't get to leave until your boss leaves. Like, that is a huge, huge no-no. And so what if you work for somebody who is just an absolute workaholic, has a terrible relationship with family, or maybe no family at all? You're just stuck here and you can't really do anything about it.
And that's just accepted. That's just the way it is.
Correct. That's
Yeah.
just the way that it is. That's just the way that it is. And then also commonly, they forge relationships in the happy hour or karaoke after work. And what if you're somebody who doesn't necessarily want to be out until 11 p.m. or midnight after you've been at work all day because you'd like to go home and sleep or see your spouse or do whatever other number of things you might need to do? You don't really have a choice if you'd like to climb the
100%. That was when I worked especially when I worked in theater. I mean, I did a lot of like live stuff, but theater, all of the real conversations happened at the bar. All of like the nitty gritty, getting into it, the best deals, the best jobs were offered, not because it was deliberately a gate, but because work was so intense and the schedule was so punishing that was the time where people
Yeah.
had some air and you could have a drink and laugh and make some jokes. And then on the second beer, start having that conversation that you wanted to have earlier in the
Right.
day. And it's easier to have those challenging things. But the people who had to, for a number of excellent reasons, not be there, and really probably shouldn't be there every night, like many people were, missed out on jobs and missed out on,
Yeah.
what would qualify as promotions and things like that.
Right. I think that's a really great example of available time, right? Like, if the job itself is so demanding that it does not have time to create an environment to have an actual productive, difficult conversation, what do? Right? It's probably going to have to happen some other time or not at all.
Yeah,
Right.
100%. That's insightful.
One that feels really like obvious once I saw it, but it wouldn't have been top of mind for me is low confidence that it's going to do any good to have the conversation in the first place.
Oof, that hits home. Yep.
Yeah. Like, it won't change anything. So why bother spending time, energy, and heartache on it, particularly if there's any of these other factors in it as well?
Yeah, so it only comes with negatives. Like,
Right.
I can do what is under the best of circumstances, have a difficult conversation. And if I am pretty confident nothing's going to change, why go through the difficulty? Things
Why?
are already difficult because I want to have this
Right.
conversation.
Right.
Am I just going to make things worse?
This one I think was kind of already touched on already, but the study broke it out as separate, was the fear of retaliation, which I think is probably different than the fear of negative consequences, right? Something negative might happen versus somebody might retaliate.
Yes, and that can be that like squeaky wheel syndrome, right?
Yeah.
People get afraid of being the troublemaker, the noisemaker, the person who's speaking up, especially if it's perceived culturally that, well, no one else is saying anything. I work with a bunch of smart people. They seem cool with it. So am I the jerk?
Right. Am I the asshole? I mean, look at Reddit. Am I the asshole is like one of the most poppin' subreddits.
Yeah.
Right? How do you not know? Have you talked to the person who might think that you're an asshole about this?
Right. Before you ask the internet, have you tried?
Have you
And it's
tried?
easier to ask the entire internet and put your full legal name out
Right.
there than have a difficult conversation.
That's right. The last one that this particular study broke out as a separate reason why somebody might avoid a negative conversation or difficult conversation is the belief that it's not part of their job.
Super dangerous. Yeah. I used to refer to this as department syndrome. The like, oh, that's not my department. The curtain's on fire. I'm in charge of floors. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, bro.
I get it.
I'm not asking you to weave a new one, but we all need to pitch in, and you should definitely say something if the
Right.
curtain's on fire.
This is quickly going to become a floor problem.
Yeah, but that can, even in not very big workplaces and companies, it's the marketing person is doing something, and you as the person on the floor perhaps can see that what they're saying isn't aligning with everyone else's lived experience.
Yep.
and maybe not aligning with your values, but they're the marketing person. You should probably just let them do what they're doing rather than raise your hand and say, I feel like we're off the reservation here. What are we doing?
Yeah. Should we talk about Sydney Sweeney here? That feels like a good opportunity.
Or why not?
Man, how many places
do we need to set the stage? Because this is coming out
I
in,
think so.
like,
They're like,
forever.
why are they talking about this hot blonde girl?
That happened 2 months ago.
Right. So she is in a line of advertisements for American Eagle that are, it's a play on words, which I'm sure the entirely white marketing department thought was genius because they make jeans, right?
Yeah.
Jean.
Yes.
She is an Ohio 8. Incredible.
She's, a conventionally attractive blonde lady who's making some money in Hollywood.
Right.
Not the first, won't be the last.
No.
Fine. But
so this particular advertisement is Sydney Sweeney has great genes. And so she's wearing American Eagle jeans, but like the underlying of it is Sydney Sweeney has great genes, Genes, which on its surface is like, oh, haha, hot girl, great genes, haha, it's funny, it's cute. But she's white, she's blonde, she's blue-eyed, she's conventionally attractive, she's thin in all the places that somebody would want to be thin and thick in all the places somebody would want to be thick. And it like smells of eugenics.
yeah, it's very creepy and like so overtly male gazy in the
It's
like,
gross.
are
It's
you
gross.
wearing a tight denim top with no bra? 'Cause even
Right.
I know that's not comfortable. Like,
Right.
what in the world?
Right. And so the part that's really interesting about it to me is that it begs the question, did they do any actual research on who their target market is? Because the last time I checked, thirsty incels who might be seeking after this type of advertisement are not the people who buy women's
American
denim.
Eagle.
And what I've noticed, I mean, I'm not like doing a case study on this advertisement, but there's kind of three schools of discourse. The one is shut up. It's not that big of a deal. It's funny. Haha. If you don't like it, don't buy the stuff. The other is like very concerned about the eugenics behind it and hey, we're going to boycott Aerie, we're going to boycott American Eagle. This is not okay. Sydney Sweeney's canceled. Be better, blah, 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 without getting into any of the other. She's been at some problematic parties and we know some things about her family that are maybe a little meh. Whatever. I don't want to necessarily talk about that.
An
But
actor
then
whose
there's
politics I don't agree with? Well, I never.
egads.
Yes.
No way. And then a third group of people that are like furious that people are even upset about this at all when there are children starving to death in Gaza. And there are so many other much more deeply problematic things going on. And so it's just kind of become this cluster of like people screaming at each other on the internet, which is a pretty good representation of the internet at large anyway.
Well, and is also never, and this is, I always wonder when something like this happens, if it's the point, especially with social media, all of the money is in outrage.
Yeah.
All of the money which is clicks and advertisements and eyeballs.
Right.
Nothing works better than getting people angry. So if you can get people angry and talking and sharing and putting the American Eagle ad up with your face in front of going, this is disgusting, but you're still running their ad and you're still running their ad.
You're still looking at it.
If you had asked me a week ago if American Eagle was still a company, I wouldn't have been sure. Like, maybe, I don't know. And now I know for sure that they are. I do wonder if this level of, they're getting a ton of quote unquote free publicity from it. Is there going to be a return on that investment? Because if you're just infuriating the people who would buy your stuff, you made a lot of noise, but it's not going to turn a profit. I bet the marketing department got a bonus for that. Like, for the amount of clicks and the amount of talk and the amount of all of that. I bet there's some people who are incredibly happy about how it's going. They're going to issue an apology or some other thing,
Right.
or she's going to come out with a follow-up ad that's going to be a little cutesy tongue-in-cheek or something.
Right.
But yes, it has been everywhere. And I get the relative outrage, but everything's relative, right? You
Right.
can't,
Like,
we have this conversation with the clients all the time. Like, well,
yeah.
yeah, I had someone yesterday who's having like some pretty significant back problems, but they know someone who has significantly worse back problems. And they were saying, I shouldn't feel bad because other people have it worse. No, time out.
Hang on.
It can always be worse, and we can be concerned about multiple things at once. Two things can be wrong at the same time, and so on.
Right. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens from this, because I think we've seen this in Target too, right?
Yeah.
Like, they took some interesting stances that people
They're
didn't agree
still
with.
paying for it.
Yeah. And I used to be an avid Target shopper. That was where I liked to get clothes for the boys. That's where we used to buy all of our diapers because I could rack up gift cards for it. I liked their activewear. I haven't been in there aside from to pick up a prescription from the CVS that's in there since the beginning of the year.
Yeah. I have a client who that used to be she has a kind of a big deal job, and one of her favorite gifts to give people as thank yous was like a $50 or $100 Target gift card. And now, she used to spend thousands and thousands of dollars a year just on Target gift cards. Not anymore. Zero.
Not anymore. Not anymore. This was a fun side quest.
Yes.
Should we get back to difficult conversations?
Let's do it.
Okay. So pivoting into, or rather out of, why do people avoid them, as quoted by this initial study? What can happen as a result of avoiding the difficult conversation, right? So this study in particular, this floored me. The negative impacts of avoiding a difficult conversation included a tremendous amount of adverse events, which could be a prolonged hospital stay, it could be a disability, or it could be a death entirely.
Interesting. Is this... Well, I have questions, but go ahead.
Yeah. So another study that was quoted within this initial one, we'll link both of them in the show notes if you want to dive in, was called the Silence Kills study. And it's a little old. It was in 2005, but indicated that more than 60% of medical errors were caused by mistakes in interpersonal communication.
Super believable.
Super believable. Even more troubling, 84% of doctors and nurses have seen their coworkers take a dangerous shortcut, and fewer than 10% of them said that they voiced that concern. That is wild to me, and I understand all of the reasons why that might be true, right? Like the nurse who was in the room and with the patient consistently, and the doctor comes in and writes a script and puts an extra 0 on the end of the CCs, and the doctor is known to be an ego case, hard ass, cannot be questioned. What do I do? What do I do? Do I kill this patient, or do I threaten the trajectory of my career by challenging this doctor? What happens if they're my attending?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it gets really tricky.
The power dynamics are really significant. Things move really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the fear of repercussions in those environments is serious. And it can also, it can happen, nurse to nurse, doctor to doctor, on a place where it looks like the power dynamics are level. There's still the issue of professionalism and decorum and appropriateness, and people wanting to hold on all of those things, especially if there's other people around, especially if it's in front of a patient or something like that.
Or a patient's partner.
Yeah. You don't want to say, oh, you don't mean that. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna do something else, right? Now everyone's lost trust and credibility.
Right. Everybody.
So when do you have that conversation? I think this is a real problem with positions of assumed authority. Anything where the other person, in this case, the medical professional, comes in just by dint of being the medical professional, they have a bunch of authority over the patient, over other people. It's harder to question them, and can even be seen as really inappropriate to question them, even if they do some crazy shit.
Yeah, totally. Both studies showed that the more difficult a conversation is, the more likely we are to avoid it, particularly when it means asking one party to make a change. And I think that that's probably true anywhere, not just in the medical profession, right? That's true in a partnership. That's true in a coach to client relationship, right? That's true anywhere. The more difficult it is, and the more of a change you're asking somebody to make, the more difficult it's going to be. And so to tie that into coaching, that could be having a conversation about somebody always being on their phone or consistently being 7 or 8 minutes late or not eating enough, displaying problematic eating disorder adjacent behaviors. These are tricky conversations to have. And we know that there are adverse actions that can come about from not having the tricky conversation.
The adverse actions or the adverse consequences aren't just the thing that you don't fix,
Yeah.
right? It's not like, hey, don't cut that. That piece is going to fall off if you cut that. The person, the thing falls off and it falls, and that was unfortunate. But the person bottling it up is now holding a lot of stress, and they
Yeah.
might take some guilt home with them of
Right.
that thing happening. And I have absolutely seen people avoid often big, difficult conversations. Their stress level soar and their quality
Skyrockets.
of life get worse and worse. And that person starts having injuries, fatigue, depression, burnout,
Right.
because they're holding on to this thing that feels impossible. And it could be death by 1,000 cuts, or it could be one giant conversation.
Right. That's important to bring up, is that it's not just what could happen if I have this conversation, but what could happen if I don't.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
bad for you to hold on to it.
Right. The second study, I think, did a slightly better job of summarizing the reasons why we avoid a difficult conversation. First one, people's lack of ability to have it. Belief that it's not their job, or low confidence that it will do any good to have it. You can kind of sum up everything in the earlier list of 10 into that. Do I have the ability to have this conversation? Is it my role? And will it change anything?
Yeah, that's nicely summarized. And having this skill set and having the confidence in that skill set is tough, because how do you get good at having difficult conversations?
Right. Well, we're going to try to give you that. And I've made an anagram that I think we're both going to be really proud of.
I love an anagram. I hope it's 40 letters long.
But before we get there, there are several models to successful conflict management, and they all effectively include a few key pieces. One is that conflict is inevitable, and positive and negative consequences might occur depending on how the conflict is managed, right? There's going to be stuff. How can we turn the stuff into a speed bump, not a cliff? The results are likely to be better when actively managed versus avoided.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right? I can
completely.
only play hide and seek for so long. It's going to come back.
And I don't know if this is part of it, but sooner is better than later.
That's right. That's right. People must be motivated to address the conflict. Both parties must be open to a conflict resolution for it to be effectively resolved.
Yeah. And that's also a cultural thing. Like, as much as possible, creating an environment where it's expected that ideas will get challenged, and
Right.
difficult conversations are great and people are excited to have them.
Right. And I think you and I are both a part of communities where that's common and where critique is not a threat. Critique is an invitation.
And I think that's an important point, because there's, the idea of a safe place to work, or a safe place to live, a safe relationship to be in, a safe partnership to be in.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important. Difficult conversations, being part of that, is part of it being a safe place.
Right.
Because if you can't raise your hand and say, I'm actually pretty concerned about that, or can I challenge you on that? I don't think we're going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like that can't be a part of where you are, you're not actually in a safe place.
Right.
You're just in a place with very limited communication.
Right. Well, but it feels safe. Okay, but what if something goes wrong? Does it feel safe then? Well, no. So I just need nothing to go wrong.
As long as everything's perfect all the time, we'll be fine.
Run.
Yes.
Important behavioral, cognitive, and emotional skills can be acquired. The tools that you have right now are not the tools that you will have forever.
It can be learned and practiced.
Right? I think directly parallel to that, emotional skills must require self-awareness. So if you are not open to being aware of what you're doing and what it might then do to other things or people, it's going to be difficult to successfully manage a conflict.
Yeah. And I think part of that is also being open to have other people come to you and have difficult conversations.
Mhm.
Hey, Weezy, I need to talk to you about something because you said something and I'm angry. Like, if you're not open to that conversation being aimed at you,
Right.
you're probably not going to be any good at aiming at the other direction.
That's right. Yeah. And then you already touched on this, but we didn't explicitly say it. The environment must be neutral and feel safe. Yeah. So a fantastic quote that I found that I thought summed this up really nicely: speak when you are angry, and you will make the best speech you will ever regret.
Yep.
Yeah. So how to have a difficult conversation. Are you ready for the anagram?
Yes.
It's a cult.
Perfect. Lovely.
OCCULT. A cult. Just remember, when you have to have a difficult conversation, a cult.
When in doubt.
Number one, when in doubt, a cult. You need to have outcome clarity. Understand your needs and the desired outcome of the conversation. What do I want to happen? Second one, I took a little bit of a liberty. Get cozy.
I was just imagining, like, C, and somehow it was going to be like, Christopher once told me, don't talk with your mouth open. Like, wait, what? Sorry.
Get cozy. Private, comfortable, not rushed. And I have an example of this that I'd love to interject. That was actually the thought behind this podcast topic. Within the last couple of weeks in my house, we've had a lot happen. We had both of our kids home, either sick or disciplinary reasons. We had a tree fall on our deck, navigating gym stuff, navigating work of our own, just a lot going on. And something that Ted and I have been aware of for a while is that he has some opportunities to be a better communicator. And I have always come at this conversation from, hey, I would really like you to communicate a little better. Right? I need you to communicate better. And this kind of came to a head in the middle of all of this other explosion. There was something that I thought around the house he had top of mind as this needs to be a thing that is solved. It was actually another tree that had been felled in the front yard that pretty big. Yeah, it's been the tree year. Some pretty massive, what do you call a piece of wood?
Are we talking about a stump?
No, it's not a stump. Like
Log?
they log. Yes, very large logs in our front yard. Like we're talking bigger than me. And I was under the impression that he had it in the back of his mind that something needs to happen with these. And it came to head in the middle of all these other things kind of exploding around us that wasn't even on his radar as a thing that needed to be fixed. Whereas this is our whole front yard right now. What do you mean it's not a priority? And so I did not manage that very well in that moment because there was a lot of other stuff going on and I didn't have the right tools in that moment. But later, after we'd both taken some time to do some other things, downregulate, get out of an angry position, I approached the conversation rather than, hey, I need you to be a better communicator. What can I do to support you to communicate better? Right? How can I support you in pursuing that? Rather than, I need you to do blank. I want to support you to do that. What needs to be true so that I'm creating that environment? And we had a
now
great,
you're working together toward a
right.
goal.
That's right. It's he and I versus the thing rather than me versus him. It's totally different. And so for the first time, he felt really heard. And I'm glad he shared that with me of this kind of like, I need you to communicate better. I need you to communicate better is not helpful. Great. I would have loved to know that a year ago.
but that's see original problem.
Right. Right. So get cozy, private, comfortable, non-rush setting ties directly into the second C. Get curious. I'm
Mm,
asking to listen, not to respond. I don't have a spicy retort set for the next thing you're going to say. I'm listening to hear you, not to have a cool comeback.
yeah. This is the curiosity and being interested and not wanting an outcome, but being interested to see where the conversation goes is
Yeah.
really important.
Right.
I won't sidetrack us with this, but anytime I see like someone have an angry conversation with their boss on social media that they're like slightly covertly filming, I'm always like, maybe we're gathering evidence and this is really interesting, but this also feels like maybe you're doing something for clicks and clout
Right.
and you were never going to have a genuine conversation in the first place.
Right. This was never intended to be productive. This was your version of the American Eagle campaign.
Yeah. Yeah. So know what you're doing it for.
Yeah. Very similar in line. I'm listening to understand. I'm
Mhm.
assuming good intentions until proven otherwise, with empathy and understanding rather than trying to gotcha the other person, which I think a lot of what we see on social media, I'm trying to trap you,
Yeah. Tons.
right? I'm trying to get you. Okay. L, lead with I. Use I statements, not you,
Really important.
right? Which is one where I fell short for a long while with Ted. I need you to communicate better. I need you to communicate better. What can I do to support you in communicating better? Right? I feel X when blank, not you make me feel blank.
Which is, it's so different.
Huge. It's
Yeah.
huge. It's so different because the one is a finger pointed and the other is like open palms.
And for the other person, especially if there's some empathy and partnership there, you know, I feel like this when you do this. Okay, maybe this is new information. This is
Right.
really important. We should fix this because I don't want anyone making you feel that way, including myself. Now we're on the same team fixing a problem versus you fucking idiot. Look what you did. Like, well, I don't, I didn't,
They're the
I
same.
wasn't trying to do that. So no, actually, I'm going to reject your whole premise.
Right. I reject this. It's nonsense. Absolutely not. And then the last one, the T in occult, tend, like tend a garden.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need? How can I support this? Right? How can I create an environment conducive to the change that I have scoped out because that's outcome clarity.
And it might be, I think tending also could lead to the next conversation, right? One big conversation is big and it's important. It's a big deal and you should potentially prepare for it. It's probably not going to solve everything.
Probably
It's a
not.
great starting point. But after you've done all of this, I think it's on both of you, ideally, however many people are involved, to tend to this and make sure that we're still heading in the right direction. And maybe we need to be nudged back in the right direction and we'll learn some things along the way. So
Right.
part of tending is probably having the next conversation.
Totally. Totally. Scheduling a when can I check in with you about this? Or what is the best next step? Right. That's been difficult conversations.
So good. It's so
Anything
good
you
and
want to
so
add?
important. I will say the power dynamic, especially in our profession in coaching,
Mm-hmm.
is power dynamic is super important. And it's often coach to client.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a significant power dynamic there, whether or not people realize it. It can also be, gym owner to coach, business owner to coach, things like that. I try really hard as a coach, and I know you do this too, to open that up from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I want bad feedback. I want all the awkward. It's actually in my contract. It says that any awkward, anything that feels unpleasant, uncomfortable, frustration, like you will come and talk to me about it
Right.
because it's so important. You
Right.
can never hurt my feelings talking about fitness and programming. I want a completely open channel.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, especially if it feels like something is heading in a difficult direction, I will try and open those doors for people. I had a
Yeah.
conversation with a client yesterday where I wasn't sure if it was going in this direction. And I said, just so you know, if you feel like we need to stop working together for a while, that might be the right choice. With all of these other things going on, we're doing really positive work, and I will completely understand and support you if you feel like this doesn't fit in your life. So that offer is on the table and open from
Yeah.
this very moment to any time you want to bring it up, and I'll bring it up again in the future too.
Right.
We've been working together for a long time, and they really like me, and they know this is my job, and so leading with that stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
handing them the tool, saying, "Hey, if you need to do this, have at it.
Great.
It's all yours."
Right. Right.
Not avoiding it or manipulating people, whether it's on purpose or not, so they don't fire you or don't buy your thing or don't stay with you for longer or things like that. The
Sure.
more tools you can give people to have those challenging conversations, the better person you are, and the better your coaching will be.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Totally.
now that person will come to you and say, well, actually I've been fighting with my husband, and I'm concerned that the relationship is going somewhere bad, and that's why I didn't do 3 of my workouts last week. So why did we talk about pull-ups for 20 minutes? But
Right.
cool. Now we're at somewhere meaningful. But you have to open so many doors and create an incredibly safe place for
Right.
conversations like that to happen.
That's right. I think it's also important, specifically when we're talking about a coach client relationship, that if there are areas where you think there might be conflict, it's always going to be better to get out on the front end of that, right? For example, with all of my in person clients, before they sign on the dotted line and pay the first invoice for a book of sessions, we go over a couple of things. One is the cancellation policy, which for me is, hey, I require 24 hours of notice. That said, particularly for my early morning clients, if you wake up and you're vomiting, or it is not a good idea to train and it would put me in a compromised position to be around you, please don't come in. And if this is a pattern of behavior where it's happening all the time, we will have a conversation about that. However, um, I don't want that, neither do you. Right. And then on the opposite side as well, I think that it's fair for me, and this is not necessarily a nudge that any coach listening needs to do this too. But if I cancel within the 24-hour window, I credit a session.
Yeah, me too. So they don't lose that session, and you
Right.
give them one more.
And I give them one.
Yeah.
Right. So if they late cancel, I'm taking that session. If I late cancel, you keep that session and you get an extra one on your book. On the opposite side, as I'm potentially enrolling somebody, I give them 3 agreements that they need to make. And the first one is that I cannot do the work for them, right? I can be there to aggressively support them through it, but they must do the work. The second one, they agree that if there is anything that comes to mind that is not working for them, I need to hear that then. Whether it's, hey, I'm having some symptoms that I wasn't having before, and I don't want you to feel bad that potentially your programming caused this.
Super
Right?
important.
I don't want you to feel guilty for giving me something that's too hard for right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or my priorities have changed, or my time has changed, or my brain is somewhere else right now, right? You agree by continuing to work with me that my only ambition here is to help you. And I cannot do that if I don't have the full picture, right? And then the third one is related to referrals. So we don't need to talk about that here, but I make people aware of this. Like, this is a conversation, not just a document I have them sign. Hey, these need to be true. If that doesn't feel okay to you, that's fine. We shouldn't work together.
Yeah. And putting all of these out on Front Street, right? Your
Yeah.
cancellation policy, you get them to promise that they are going to let you know when something doesn't feel great, when something comes up. Not if,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to happen.
When?
Every single person, something's going to happen, something's not going to feel right, something's going to be weird. They are going to bring these things to you. Then the next time you have to have that conversation, it's so much easier.
Right.
Because you can
Right.
say, do you remember when we talked about A, B, and C? Well, this is that situation, or this is
Mm-hmm.
that cancellation, or I feel like you're not doing the thing you agreed to. Can we double back on this conversation again? And you're not in the position of saying, ooh, well, they're not communicating very well, but I guess maybe maybe they just don't communicate well. Like, no, you've laid the ground rules
No.
that this is part of the deal.
This is part of it. And
Yeah.
if we can't do that, we can't collaborate effectively. It won't work. It won't work. And I would rather give you a fist bump and say, I'm here when you're ready, or I'm here when circumstances have changed, than continue to feel like I'm dragging somebody up the mountain.
Completely.
Anything else you think we should say about avoiding or not avoiding difficult conversations?
I don't think I have anything else to add. I'm excited to see if people have difficult conversations they want us to hear about. Maybe we could go in on that on another episode, and or if people want tips. This is another thing that I know you and I have played with a fair amount,
Mhm.
and I'm not offering this as a blanket service, but I've done this with people. If you have a difficult conversation, a great thing to do is kind of role play it with somebody. Like, don't, rehearse. What's it going to be like?
Totally.
Okay, what are you going to
Totally.
say? Okay, and if they say this, they okay. You want to do it again? Okay, and then it's not going to be scripted. You don't know it the
Mhm.
way. Remember, be curious, be ready to listen. But it can take a lot of the sting out of doing it for the first time
Mhm.
if you've said that first sentence 15 or 20 times already.
That's right. We talk about the concept of reps a lot. How did your first back squat feel? Like, ever? Probably not great. It probably felt confusing and wrong, and it probably biomechanically didn't look awesome. How did your 1,000th feel? Right? We need some reps.
Yeah, that's how you get
And
good.
yeah, I had a conversation like this with a client an hour ago. That's
Mhm.
that's not an exaggeration. There's some stuff going on that they wanted some support with. Hey, would you find it valuable to just riff on this for 30 minutes? Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All the time. And
All the
especially
time.
being on that person's team, you're
Mhm.
both heading in the same direction is just incredibly valuable.
Yeah. Totally. One caveat that I want to make to that is that neither of us are trained therapists in any kind of way, and so
Nor would we try to
please
be.
no. So outside of role play and providing general advice, please don't bring us your nitty gritty conflicts and say, can you solve this for me? Because the answer is no.
But that's also like, that can be part of the difficult conversation, right? Someone comes
Mm-hmm.
to you and it's a safe enough space that they can say, hey, I've been having these really dark thoughts lately. I'm not sure what to do about it. Awesome. We're going to connect you with a mental health
Thank you.
professional.
Right.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much.
telling
Let's
me.
get you in the right place with the right person.
Right.
Because it ain't me. But if I'm the person who created this situation where you can open up about this for the first
Great.
time because it's safe and excellent,
Yeah.
fantastic. I'm happy that we created a place where we can take the next step toward getting you where you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to try and solve everything.
Mm-hmm. Good call out. I will be here to support you with this.
Completely. And I'm not necessarily leaving, but we
No.
need more. We need at least one more team member in.
Right. I am a hammer, and this requires a drill.
Mm-hmm.
Should we do a segment?
Let's do a segment. This is, I was a little worried about this, but I think you will enjoy it. I was worried
No.
because it feels beyond solipsistic. This
What?
is, uh, there's very little hubris involved. So we are going to play Two Truths and a Lie, all about Justin's life. Because I know, like, we've known each other for a while, and we know some stuff about some things, but I don't know. I feel like there's some stuff you don't know about me, and it
Yeah.
might be interesting. So I have, like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 I kind of broke out categories and then filled in
This
things
is
for them.
great. I'm going to definitely do this in the future.
Okay.
Bring it on.
So we're going to start with early life. We have 2 truths and a lie. I was born in Nebraska. I went to a boarding school in Idaho for 2 years. I attended elementary school in Texas for 2 years.
I'm going to say born in Nebraska is a lie.
I was born in Papillion, Nebraska. I did not go to a boarding school in Ohio.
You said Idaho. That's a gotcha.
Idaho. Sorry. Yeah.
Get out of here. Let the record show Justin McClintock's just lying about his lies. Lies on lies.
I thought we'd do some my previous career stuff. Previous career, I got to bang into a bunch of celebrities. So in the celebrity category, I sat under Madonna's makeup table while she used it. Barack Obama's Secret Service pressed me against the wall twice. Robin Williams hugged me, and he was so sweaty it stained my shirt.
Oh, gosh. I'm going to say that Madonna is a lie.
I sat under Madonna's table while she used it.
Wow. Why?
It was a lighting emergency. As she approached the table, all of the lights, the little makeup lights, blinked out. And I was 5 feet away, and I dove under the table. It was there was a makeup table right before she was going to go on stage. So she had done her like full glam. This was like last looks, little touch up. We're on camera, and the lights all went out. And she's a pro. She just kept moving and sat down. And I was under the table fixing stuff, got it on, and basically held all the cords and cables together while she sat there and touched her makeup up with this dude in a suit pressing against her legs. Yeah. Just another day.
Yeah.
I never got to meet Robin Williams, sadly.
Okay. That does make me sad.
I had to do some weird stuff to get to some weird locations. I had to get a visa to go work in the United Nations. I had to get a passport to go work on the world's biggest cruise ship. I had to get an FBI background check to work in the Freedom Tower.
Say the first one again.
I had to get a visa to work in the United Nations.
I think that one's a lie.
No, you need a visa to go work in the UN.
What?
It's true. I never worked in the Freedom Tower. I was never there.
Wow.
Other World Trade Center buildings, but not that one. Speaking of, I was in New York City for some events.
Yes.
I was working at the Statue of Liberty when Sully crashed into the Hudson. I was in the theater in Times Square that bomb was parked next to, 2008, I think. And I was living in Manhattan on September 11th.
I think the first one is a lie. I don't think you were in the Statue of Liberty when Sully crashed.
You are correct. I was not. But somebody probably was. I bet.
Somebody probably was. Somebody was.
I have and have had some weird hobbies. I'm pretty good at close-up magic. I'm fairly adept at wood burning, and I like homebrewing beer.
I think wood burning is a lie because I think we've talked about beer before, and
I wasn't sure. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, and I know that we've talked about Penn and Teller in the past, so.
Oh yeah, for
dead
sure.
Giveaway.
Fair enough. My lovely wife Rebecca, she really enjoys competitive eating contests. That is, competing in them. As she started med school, she also started competing in triathlons. She hesitated to date me because she had had bad experience with Scottish people.
I think that one.
Yeah, that's true. I just thought that was funny. I think we got 2 more left. I've done some weird fitness stuff. I've competed in multiple regional strongman competitions. Ran both the Boston and New York marathons, and I did a mountain bike race on the Appalachian Trail. Part of it, not the whole thing.
I haven't seen you post anything strongman related, so I'm going to say that's a lie.
I competed actively in strongman for 4 years.
Wow. All right.
I never have been in a bike race of any kind. Last one, business stuff. I thought you would like this. Feel Strong's original offer was $75 a month for unlimited programming. I lost almost $10,000 trying to build a Feel Strong app, and it turned out to be a scam. I tried to buy the gym I worked at, and the owner refused to sell it to me. Sold it to someone else.
I think you're too smart to get scammed out of 10 grand. So I'm going to say that's a lie.
It is a lie, and I appreciate that. 4 and 4, not bad. I worked on that.
Not bad. Now
Any
I know, now everybody else
surprises?
knows.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. You could have told me all of those were actually true, and I'd have been like, yeah, okay.
Well, that's the hope of the thing. It's like...
That's the whole shtick. Weezy,
and
you've done
I'm
it.
8 feet tall.
I don't think I actually know how tall you are.
That's a good question. How tall do you think I am?
Like 5'11".
I'm 6 feet. Same thing.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah. I'm very comfortable breaking out the tape measure. Yeah.
Great.
Anytime.
Ted is the only person I know who tries to lie about his height shorter.
Oh, well, he's huge.
Yeah. It's a very large person where it's really a spectacle if there's somebody taller than him in the room. Like, we're both like,
How tall is he? He's like 6'4"?
he's 6'5",
Yeah.
but then he has like an additional 2 inches or so of hair
Okay.
because
Yeah.
he's got quite curly hair and he does like sort of a high and tight situation.
My the previous owner of the gym I worked at a while ago was, I think he was 6'7" or 6'8". And it was fun. Occasionally I got to go places with him where people only knew him through Zoom calls. And it doesn't really come up, right? Like, we've never
Right.
talked about my height. So we would walk into a room and people would just go, Jesus Christ! Yeah. He gets a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. From pictures, I either have to be a micro person or he's a
Right.
giant. Like, there's
Exactly.
no other scenario.
What are you, 5'6"?
5'5".
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same diff, allegedly.
Allegedly. Anything to close?
No, this has been fun. Difficult conversations. It's a really interesting topic, and it's also, I think, something, if we feel inspired to and people want it, we could break it out into kind of subcategories later on of how to do this thing, when to do this thing, when to, are there occasions where you should actually not and just bail because the situation is so toxic and so,
I've done that.
yeah, so bad. And I know we've both worked in environments where the culture is so bad and such a poor fit that we just said, nope, I don't belong here.
Nope.
This isn't a thing I can fix or can be fixed. This is just the wrong place.
Right. If it can't be fixed, then it's not worth the stress of trying to fix it.
Yeah. If you can't imagine a better outcome, then it's also a pretty bad situation, but it might call for bigger moves. That's not a reason to avoid the conversation, necessarily.
Not necessarily. Okay. This has been Training Partners. I'm Weezy Shoemaker, joined by Justin McClintock. We'll see you next time.
Later, gang.
Here come your training partners, so smart, so strong, so funny. Let's go with your training partners. We're ready to shine.